Okay, cool. All right, just a few announcements tonight and then April's got some training too. I got a short one for you, but then April's got it. But how's everybody? Everyone good? Wave back so I could see you. Okay, cool. All right, let me go to the slides first then. And take some notes and write some dates down here. These are some really good things. So let me Okay. Believe it or not, it's coming very, very quick this month, but our launch is a week from tomorrow. Okay, and that's because two things going on. We have Thanksgiving this month, and also we'll be going to Puerto Vallarta or Bahia Mita right after Thanksgiving. So it takes the beginning of 2 weeks out of the loop. So anyway, it'll be November 17th. This should be posted everywhere, Telegram or Facebook group, but you can take a screenshot here if you need to, and you can always ask that it be text to you. So you have both of them, one with the Zoom ID number, one without, and then obviously the one in the middle will have the live link on it. But it's a week from tomorrow, so you don't want to miss out in inviting people to that. So next. This is exciting. Okay. If you were in Dallas, you know what I'm about to say. If you weren't, you're really in for a treat. Jenny Crane is going to train our team 2 weeks from tonight. Okay. So November 23rd. Um, I can't say enough good. April, why don't you talk about Jenny? She's one of the special ones. She's Kerry Dickey's sister-in-law. But go ahead, April.
She's a whole lot more than her sister-in-law. She's just an amazing. She is always willing to share totally with everything, help everyone every way. The thing about her is she is totally built on Facebook, not person to person, totally on Facebook. So very interesting. Her training was off the charts and just so amazing that she's willing to spend some time and train our group. So we are so excited to have her. She is a wealth of information. Did get the book that she wanted us to read, Story Brand, Building a Story Brand, pretty good book. Just so much good information. And I love it because it rounds out another way for us to be able to build our business. So just excited about and looking forward to hearing her again. So she's just great. We actually spent time with them when we were, if you remember, in Croatia, Bobby. She had the boat next to
Yes,
us.
you had the boat next to us. Yeah, you
Yeah,
were cliff diving together.
cliff diving together. So yeah, so we've got some great memories and pictures and stuff to share. If I have time, I might dig some of those out. So they're cool.
Yeah, and from what I've heard from everybody on her team and everybody, she's going to be here. I think it's 14 years in January, but her approach is very duplicatable and very simple. You don't need a whole lot of skills to do what she does. You just need to be consistent and persistent on a daily basis and do the things that she says to do. And to me, that's the most exciting part of it. And we got to see some of that. She was doing some of the training in Dallas. So anyway, 2 weeks from tonight, you want to make sure not only everyone on your team, all your regulars are on, but you definitely want to make sure that you reach out beyond that. And anybody that is even wondering, if they could build a business like this, if they could have an online business, if they could ever use social media as a tool, this would work in your favor in so many ways. So anyway, you'll see Jenny's from California and like I said, married to Carrie's brother and just a super lady. So that's 2 weeks from tonight. Okay, but I want to talk to you about something, and I think it'd probably be a good setup for some of the things April's going to talk about. But I can't. I was going through some of my notes today and going through some of my trainings in the past, And this really struck a chord. And this is really just to give you some reminders of, we can get lost in this business. We could get caught up in rabbit holes. We could find ourselves going down a rabbit hole, and all the time that we have dedicated or have available to build the business just gets swallowed up in a rabbit hole. Okay. And the one thing that you got to be very, very strict about with building your business is the time that you say you're going to allocate to doing it, you need to do it. Okay. And, there's some percent I'll go through in a second, but I just want to remind you that building this business and earning money in this business is based on revenue producing activity. Okay. That is it. Okay. And that begins with, and this is just a reminder, and ask yourself this question: how many hours a week do you have to build your business? And are they hours you have that you have in the morning? Are they hours that you have throughout the day? Are they hours that you have in the evening? Are they hours that you have on the weekend? Only you know that, okay? But I just want to give you a ratio just to always keep in mind, because this is an industry-wide forever ratio. Let's just say you have 10 hours, okay, a week that you could dedicate to building your business. Now, that's either mornings, that's afternoons, that's evenings, or that's weekends. You know when those hours are, but the percentages never change. Maybe one week you have 20 hours available, maybe another week you have 5, but you're pretty set on 10. The percentages are always 80, 10, and 10. Okay, well, what do I mean by that? Whatever amount of time you have, whatever that number is, I don't care if it's 1 hour a day, okay, and that's not a lot of time, but let's just say 1 hour a day, okay, it needs to be broken down into 80%, 10%, and 10%. So what is that? 80% is in doing revenue producing things. Okay, 80% of your time, revenue producing things. What is that? Well, that's making phone calls. That's prospecting for new people. That's closing people, getting people started. That's developing leads and developing new leads. Okay, that's following up. Okay, it's revenue producing activities. Now, 10% should be spent on training. Okay, so you're getting a better understanding of what you're doing and how to do it, and maybe what new tools are available. And the other 10% is personal development or self-improvement, spent on that. But I'll tell you, in conversations that I have with people, man, there are more people spending 80% on training or personal development and not even 10% on revenue producing activities. And, that doesn't pay well, folks. Okay. I mean, if something's got to be skipped, training and personal development gets skipped, but not the revenue producing activity. So all I'm asking is look at what you do every morning, every afternoon, and every evening. Look at where you have dedicated from the schedule that currently exists, okay, where you're pulling your time, and just make sure that whatever time it is that you're dedicating to building your LifeVantage business, 80% of that is doing revenue producing stuff. Now, one of the things that triggered this training is something came as I was flipping through and I saw it, but there are so many things going on right now. There's so many meetings going on. There's so many different Zooms going on. There's doctors doing this. There's other people doing that. You could spend all of your time looking at, watching, snooping, scrolling, and never do anything that's revenue producing. So you got to look, what kind of triggered this is I looked at the company schedule, and basically it's a rollout of Love Biome right now. That's kind of what's going on. And there's meetings going on in different places. And I said, well, and then I started looking at, and Zoom on Monday, Zooms on Tuesday, Zooms on Wednesday, Zooms on Thursday, Friday. And this is distributors doing Zooms, not even the corporate Zooms that are being done on top of that. And a lot of them are in the evening. And I'm thinking, wow, most of the people in this business, at least when they first get started, they have jobs and they have normal hours. And these Zooms are going on in the evening. When are they going to build their business? You can't be spending your time on someone else's Zoom or training if that is the time that you've allocated for building your business. Because I got news for you, watching somebody else do something is not you building your business. Okay, the only way that turns into you building your business is if somebody's doing an opportunity presentation, a product and business opportunity presentation, and you've got guests watching that and you're there watching it with guests. Okay, then it turns into a revenue producing thing instead of, dead time. So just this is just to be a checklist. See where if you got 40 hours a week, maybe you're retired collecting Social Security and retirement funds and you got all the time in the world, just check and make sure that 80% of that time is revenue producing. If you're really strapped for time, and you only got an hour a day, 7 hours a week to spend with your business, okay, then it's really crucial that you spend that 80% in revenue producing activities. Okay, it's just really important. And, I'm using this as a checklist for myself, but the thing that scares me, think about it, folks. In 2 weeks, it's Thanksgiving, and then 4 weeks later, it's Christmas, and a week later, it's New Year's. There's so many things that could be distracting, yet, this is a time of the year where we can be killing it in business, especially with gifts and customers. And the company, they already announced they're having some sort of Black Friday sale. I want to share something with you. In years past, and April will tell you, they've never even mentioned the word Black Friday. It like never even came up in conversation. And all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, they mentioned they're going to have some sort of Black Friday sale. It might be the first, that they're doing. So there's just going to be a lot of things going on. Let's not get sidetracked and use the time we have for something other than what's going to put money in your pocket. And everybody wants extra money in their pocket during the holidays. So just check your time, see what you're doing. If you're not doing enough, reaching out and closing, let's face it, revenue producing is this: enrolling customers and enrolling consultants, or helping someone on your team enroll customers and consultants. That's revenue producing. Nothing else pays us. So if the time's not being spent there, then let's tweak what we're doing. And if it means skipping calls, Zooms, company trainings, whatever, remember everything's recorded. Okay, you can always go back for a replay, but let's try and keep the percentages in line so you get the most out of what the business has to offer. So with that, April, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks. How's everybody doing? Good? Good. So we're going to start a power hour. This is totally voluntary. We did one last week. Deanna was on it and Alice was on it. And if you can make it, you can make it. If you cannot, it's totally fine. I'm doing this as much for selfish reasons as I am for everyone else. There's so many benefits, and we used to do a lot of these power hours. I used to do them with the coach that I was with. It's an intense time to work, and it's amazing when you cut out distractions, how much you can get done. But I think it really ties in. I was coming back from New York yesterday. I was up to see my mom, and I can tell you that the airport is like COVID again, like the world is shutting down. People are not going to be traveling very much again. They're going to kind of be isolated to where they are. Even if the government, and not to be political, I'm not getting political, but even if the government opens tomorrow, it's already been said, it's going to be a while before things get back to normal with travel. So, it's always great to keep your options open. Bobby and I have always built online, in person, done it all different ways, and always at the same time doing everything that way, because, it's important to be able to, especially in these times, we just never know. I mean, look at what went on with COVID. We were all shut down. luckily before COVID, I happened to be working with a coach online. I mean, it was a real savings for our business. So I think it's important to be able to do it all the different ways. And, one of the things with Facebook or Instagram, Facebook in particular has over 3 billion active people. And so, I always say our business gets down to networking. We're networkers. But it really doesn't matter if you start that conversation online or in person. So, while we're going to be doing these power hours, obviously I'll tell you some of the ways that I've built. We went over doing Trello boards and some other things quickly the other day, and not to make it complicated, but there's so many things. I'm going to put something, a message here in the chat that I kind of just typed up quickly. But, we're all posting stories, about the product. We're all doing that. But, would it be so hard for you to go back through those stories and thank a person for watching your stories and saying how much you really appreciated them having eyes on what you're doing? And hey, curious, could you be interested in any of that? Do you need more information? That starts a whole conversation about your business. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that, but we just need to do the work. And again, if you're not on Facebook and you want to be anonymous, that's totally fine. That's all right. That's one part of the business you won't have. But sometimes we think it's all about the posting and the reels. And maybe we're not all up for that. I've gone on streaks where I've done a lot of reels. I've gone on streaks where I've kind of disappeared and been, non-existent. But you know what? I always keep up those conversations in the back office. And I always kind of try to have something up in my stories. And, it can be a dumb picture being stuck in the airport yesterday, and people were just like, oh, I hope you get home. And it just starts so many conversations. It could be watching a kid's baseball game. It could be a dinner you're eating. How many people would love to be able to go out and have more food, more different types of food, and go out to dinner and all these different, but there's so many eyes on what we're doing. But if we don't put stuff in stories, and then more importantly, get back to saying, hey, thank you. Thanks for watching my stories. Start that conversation. Again, just getting back to, we are all about networking. You can take it one step further with those stories is, depending on what their reply is with the products or the business or whatever, you put them in Lifespan Matters, drip on them. Create your own drip campaign where you're texting them once a week. If you don't have to do project broadcast, you could easily do your own texting. Bobby sends our notifications out for this training manually every week. He sends them out in groups. No reason why you couldn't be texting a bunch of people that way as well. You don't have to make it difficult or expensive. These are all inexpensive ways to be building your business. But again, if you're not doing any of this, if you're not getting out among people, maybe you prefer people. I know we met with somebody this afternoon, and they kind of initially wanted a phone call. And Bobby was like, he wants to be in person. He feels like he does his best in person. He does his best face to face. So I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way, but I can tell you when you're either in person or you're on Facebook, your thoughts have to be about your business. Your business really needs to be 24/7. It's not that you need to actively be working, but I don't think there's ever a day, no matter how crazy my life gets, that I don't touch my business, that I'm not talking about my business. If you would ever see my desk, my calendar, I am totally always writing notes on everything about who to call, who to follow up, because maybe I'm not actively making a phone call right now, but the follow-up needs to be there. You can have a whole follow-up system, but then people pop into your life. They leave a message that you haven't even talked to them in a while. You set a time to talk to them on Monday, or all of a sudden somebody that you realize you haven't touched. And, look, 33 years in business, and people still pop in my mind to do reach outs to, still pop in my mind how they would be so perfect for this business, or why I need to reach out with them, especially with the number of products that are coming at us. We have so many things to be able to talk about. So again, it doesn't matter if you start with products, mention the opportunity. If you start with opportunity, certainly mention the products. But if it's on your mind, and you're focused on it and it's on your business, not actively working, but on your mind 24/7, that's where all these ideas come from. Anybody that has been successful in life, anybody that owns a big business, and I'm saying everyone wants to. Bobby and I had this conversation earlier. So many of the people that we talk to would like the idea of a business that throws off, leverage income, not having to work, money while they sleep. But when it comes to action, they don't really want it. So, and that's fine. That's fine if they don't want it. And we have people that, want a little, we have people that want a lot, we have a little bit of it all. It doesn't really matter, but we need to be doing our part if we want the bigger vision. If we want a bigger paycheck, if we want to earn more money, if we want to rank advance, we have to put in the hours. We have to be able to talk to people. And I love Facebook because you can do this early in the morning, which seems to be what I've got to do, a little bit earlier. You can get up a little bit earlier, talk to people. The cool thing about Facebook, it doesn't matter when you message them. It could be 2 a.m. It could be 3 a.m. It could be any time you want. It could be 1 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter, but it does kind of need to be somewhat consistent as far as, having messages, getting back to people. You can't just post a story or post a post and never get back to anybody or comment or thank them for liking that post or that story. But I've seen all of you at different levels put stories up there. And it's just a shame if you're not going back and at least thanking them for liking your story. If they hearted it or some kind of, and you want to get more traction, go on their stories and just, like, comment, and, tell them that, you like what they had for dinner or their dress that they're wearing or their anniversary or whatever is going on. But it's so important. And we have so many ways on Facebook to find stories. We can do things with groups. We can do things with like on Messenger, the Facebook group, the Lifespan Matters. There's so many different ways that we can go about building on there. So if you haven't, give it a try. If you've already decided it's not for you, it's not for you. I tell people that I just had a lady that's like, oh, I don't know that I could. I'm like, yep, you can't do it. It's just like whatever you believe is so powerful these days that, you have to change your beliefs. And a lot of people have core beliefs out there, and we can help a little bit, but we can't change a person deep down. But anyway, that's just a small tip. That stories as far as reaching out to people. Like I said, it's free. There's some 3 billion people on there. We can direct down to who you talk to locally. We can direct down statewide. We can do countries. You can do a whole lot of stuff on Facebook once you get it going. But, you already have the basics. Put something up in stories. That's a copy and paste. Everyone can do that. And then come and see who comments on it. And, the more you use it, the more it rewards you as well. But, take a copy of the message that I put there. Obviously you want to put something like yours. It could be a typo in there. I did it really quickly, but just to give you a thought on, how easy this can be to do our networking, to start these conversations. They don't need to be terribly difficult. They can be super easy. It's just a matter of doing it. There are just so many different ways that we can connect with people. We just have to figure out what our way is. If in-person networking is yours, hey, go ahead, do that. But I just noticed coming back from New York, it was like doomsday. I mean, I've never seen the airport I fly into is this terribly small one. And, we 3 times before I even headed to the airport, we were delayed a little, then we were delayed a lot, then we're on time. So you didn't even really know when to go to the airport or not. That was kind of crazy there. And then they'd have you line up and then you'd stand before they even let you get on the plane. Then you were like, rush, get on the plane. There was a time limit to get out of there. Then we couldn't get out of there. We got denied access. They closed the airspace in Orlando. So there's a lot of panic going on with people flying people on the plane. We're like, they're headed here to Orlando for vacation, but they're like, we don't even know if we're going to get back, how we're going to get back, what's going on. And, I just had a glimpse of the news today. I know it's that much more tougher again. So, you know what? People will be home for the holidays. They're going to not do those trips to see family and different things because they don't know if they're going to get back. They don't know what's going to go on. So you know where they're going to be? They're going to be on Facebook. The eyes are on Facebook, 3 billion users. So, take advantage of it, take advantage of it, small, big, but it's an easy thing to do. And if the Monday works for you, and, I'd like to see us get more of them, maybe some other people can take the lead, but let's start with this. Let's start learning how to message people, have some conversations on Facebook. And like I said, we are looking for the ones who want to do it, who need it. I'm always a big fan of the person that really needs it, whose, back is against the wall, the way Bobby's and mine was. When we got started, we probably said the craziest things, more crazy than anybody can imagine. But we also didn't hear the no's because we had to do it. We had, if we didn't try to replace Bobby's income, who knows what would have happened? We would have lost the house and maybe the kids, and who knows what would have went on. Seriously though, we were in a position where we had to make it happen. And this was the greatest gift. I mean, this has been amazing for us, but sometimes people aren't in that mindset, and it would be great if they could get there. So I'm always looking for the person whose back is against the wall, because I know that's the person that'll make it perform, make it happen, because they don't have any options. So, but anyway, back to you, Bob, or any questions. If anybody's got any questions, let me know.
April, do me a favor. Just, we use the word power hour, but just
Mhm.
explain to people, that's an intense hour of working to build the business. What do you do during that hour? And I know that over time there's going to be multiple hosts and stuff, but
Yeah.
what exactly goes on for that hour?
So the whole idea is there's this collective thought that when everybody works together, you're kind of working together, but not alone. It's not a time where we have a lot of conversation or we talk, but we'll pick generally 4 different activities, maybe 5 different activities during the hour. So maybe, the first one will be, warming up the algorithm, which could be, answering in stories and just commenting and posts and stuff to get Facebook, like, almost them to know we're on. But then, we'll do things like, we can do some reach outs. Like I said, we can go through stories, we can add friends, we can send birthday messages. It's nothing most people don't know, but the whole idea about having the hour there is that I can't take a phone call and get distracted. I can't do some laundry. I can't do something else. It's an hour of solid work, and it's amazing. I know when I get up here and I get zoned in how much work I can get done, but it's also equally easy to be distracted at times. Maybe the kids call, or, something else goes on, so I just like it because I know in an hour how much work you can get done. And this business is not about having to spend hours doing it. It's about doing the work in a timely fashion. And so generally Power Hour will break up into 4 or 5 different segments, go through those. It's maybe not all you need to do, but again, it doesn't matter. As long as you're having conversations with people in Messenger, you're golden. I mean, it's no different than going out in the store and meeting, 5, 10, 50. You could never talk to all those people. And there are ways that you can keep track of those people super easy too. So that makes it all easier. So, that's really what a power hour is. And it's just been proven that people get, really good results when they dial in like that. So.
So that would fall into a revenue producing activity because
Yes.
you're reaching out, you're following up, reaching out to prospects, sending messages. Okay.
Yeah.
D?
The Zoom link was incorrect, so let everybody know it's this same link.
The same link. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Link.
one on the screen.
I got my own phone number wrong.
That's pretty bad.
You did.
I'm guilty because I made the slide. Thanks.
That's
Dale.
okay. I don't want everybody to write it down and can't get on tomorrow. But
It's the same link as tonight, folks. It's my phone number if you have my phone number. That's the Zoom. And if you don't have my phone number, now you do. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was really, we didn't do a lot the first one, but honestly, if you guys can get on, it'd be really fun to do it all together and really like work hard for an hour. It was really great to do it. So
Yeah. It's more powerful. I don't know why exactly it is, but just working with a bunch of people seems to be more powerful.
It's like having 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 accountability partners.
Yeah.
That's what you're really doing. That's what makes it fun. It's you're holding each other accountable. And, for that hour, I think that's a big part of it. It's like having a bunch of accountability partners for an hour. So, so anyway, just a reminder, folks. Um, there's going to be a million different things that you could log into this week, and just keep in mind, obviously next Sunday, we have this training again, but Monday is our opportunity presentation. So clearly, getting guests on that is a revenue producing activity. And then if you really want some great advice on social media, and April's great with it. I don't say it a lot, okay, but and she's under she doesn't toot her own horn with it, but I would put her against anybody with social media simply because we're second or third in the country in recruiting consultants, and those are strangers, that we're getting in. So we're in the top five anyway for recruiting consultants. But Jenny is just what I like about Jenny is the way she teaches it. You could be a novice, like just barely have a Facebook account and really learn what she's talking about and what to do and take advantage of it. That's, so and then we get into the holidays, and I can tell you, we're going to talk more. And April mentioned something earlier. Jackie had reached out to me, and most of you know Jackie Gagliano. Should we go to church with her? She lives a mile or two from us, and she reached out last night because her neighbor, who is Mexican, okay, has a lot of relatives and business people that he knows in Mexico. And all of a sudden he was interested in learning more about the business. And she had actually says, "Hey, can we get on the phone tomorrow with him?" And I'm like, "Well, considering you're only like a mile up the road, why don't we just meet at your house and we'll talk?" And because it was her next door neighbor. And the reason I'm bringing that up is we're coming into the Thanksgiving break and the Hanukkah and the Christmas and the New Year's and all the Kwanzaa, all the different holidays that happen over the next 6 weeks or so. And we're going to be in person, with people. And those are different conversations than social media conversations. So we're going to talk more about that as we get closer to it. But man, this is a great time of the year to really let it rip with building your business, okay? And I call it rededicate yourself to your business, recommit to it, and look at where you're splitting up your time, what's revenue producing, and nothing is a waste of time, but some things are more valuable with building this business than other things. And, if you're limited on, if you got all the time in the world, it's not as critical. But if you don't have all the time in the world, it really is important to pay attention to what you spend your time doing. Okay. It really is. So, anyway, anyone got anything they want to share? Or I know Dee did. Anyone else got anything? I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow we get to go look at wedding venues for my son and his new fiance up in Jacksonville. And we have a new couple up there. And actually, I see Joel on here now. Joel Martin and his wife Linda. They live in Jacksonville, and we're going to actually meet them in person for the first time. So they came from Facebook also. So I'm looking forward to meeting them also. But hey, Joel, can't wait to meet you guys in person at what do we decide? Chili's? I think we did. We said
Yeah, I think yeah, with the chillers, definitely.
we'll see you at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
So anyone else? Anything? Everybody good? If you haven't, I got some, was really neat. Some of you guys know Tan and Shauki. They're all leaders in Europe. I got some pictures from them and their team. They were in London this weekend for the event rolling out ProBiome in London, well, for Europe, but the meeting was in London, but it was for all of Europe. So they were sending pictures over and stuff. It was pretty cool. And it really brought up fond memories because the teacher and the trainer was Tara Wilson. And we had the privilege of touring Europe with her when we rolled out, what was that, hair care? Was that
Hair
the
care. Yeah,
hair
hair
care?
care.
So, and there she was again, and she says, "I just love your Dutch people." I said, "Well, they love you too." So, anyway, it's look, folks, we're really into a fun time. to be doing the business. We're in a great time of year to be doing it, whether you're doing it online or in person, but there's never a better time in person than what we're doing from now to New Year's. I mean, we're just going to see so many people socially and other ways that, this is just a great time to do it. So anyway, if no one else got anything, we'll call it an evening. And you know how to get us. Reach out anytime. And just remember, a week from tomorrow is launch, and 2 weeks from tonight, Jenny Crane will be training on social. So have a great night, everyone. We appreciate your time. Thank you. And we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob and April.